Ladies and gentlemen, as elsewhere in this course, I am again confronted with a dilemma. The dilemma is, on the one hand, I find I should not mention those authors or positions that I don't have the time to properly explain. On the other hand, I also think that I should give at least hints out of completeness and certainly at the danger to overburden my lectures with too many unexplained or let's say underdeveloped notions. Here today and elsewhere, I've chosen the second alternative, and because I think that even if I have given just a hint to an author or work, you have the opportunity to to develop my hint using encyclopedias, and this is better. A hint is better than, let's say, a full silence on important positions. I'm now going to illustrate briefly, let's say, benevolent and less benevolent critical positions on John Rawls's theory of justice. Two authors, or two groups of authors actually, have tried to elaborate a correction of some of Rawls's position. One is Amartya Sen, the Nobel laureate in economy, who has developed the so-called capability approach, and he maintains that more important than the distribution of goods among the members of society is to put them in the condition to make an appropriate use of them. Another correction within, let's say, Rawls's original group at Emerson Hall, and that is the philosophy department at Harvard, is represented by those who find Rawls's limitation of his own theory to the national range unjustifiable, and want to extend the principle of justice to the globe. Charles Bates started this criticism, which has been more recently particularly developed by Thomas Pogge. I take the opportunity to remind that I myself, in one of the previous lectures, spoke of time universalism. I don't see why we should restrain justice to our contemporaries, to the people who live on the earth with us, and not to extend them to future beings. Justice for future beings. This is my point. A very different liberalism was developed already in the 70s by Robert Nozick, who died prematurely in 2002. Anarchy, State, and Utopia, 1974. More than traditional liberalism, this is called libertarianism, in the sense that Nozick thinks that the only permissible statal organization in the sense of a theory of justice is a minimal state without any redistributive functions and under the rule of, let's say, Lockean negative liberties. In this corner of the, let's say, ideological spectrum, and if I may say so, further to the right, you can find the anarcho-capitalists, such as Murray Rothbard, who are in favor of eliminating altogether the state and giving the market all the functions we have traditionally transmitted to the state. Fully outside the theory of justice, fully outside, let's say, Rawlsian territory, you would find the communitarians, who the 80s and 90s in the philosophical world were largely occupied by the controversy between liberals and communitarians. Names, very different names. I have to put them under the same heading, but Michael Walzer, Michael Sandel, and Charles Taylor have indeed very different positions. But they all somehow share the criticism, the refusal of taking as the last truth the Rawlsian conception of the individual, the liberal conception of the individual as an abstract and isolated being, and try to redesign its definition within the community. I cannot expand this very important point. I would suggest once again that this controversy should be reread not just on behalf and on the basis of its own philosophical content, but also with regard to, let's say, to the different, however different, cultural landscape in the US and in Canada, where the community is an important piece of historical experience, and Europe. That was it. Next lecture will deal again with the problem of normative philosophy in general.